All right, I guess we can get it going. Hello, everyone. Good to see everyone here. Thank you for making it into this info session today. Today's going to be very insightful. It's really great to see everybody here being ambitious and motivated to be able to push their business forward. And over here, we're just going to be, discussing how we can assist and prepare you really well for your application, so that your best foot forward is on point, and so you have a higher chance of success and you understand exactly the process for this grant that we have. So warm welcome to everybody. So this is our agenda that we'll start with. So quick welcome just to let y'all know that this grant and advance, we aim to work with partners and invest in the development of new, emerging, and elevating and established Black-owned, for-profit, and also nonprofit and any music adjacent businesses. This is an opportunity and initiative that has been done by Advance in partnership with the City of Toronto and the Slaight Family Foundation. And this is year 2 of the B.A.G, in which we had injected over 200,000 into Canadian Black-owned businesses for profit and nonprofit. And advanced funds are meant to financially assist Black-owned business professionals or entrepreneurs to support them in the music ecosystem at large. So we recognize the lack of Black representation across all businesses types, and we understand the compound lasting effect of the recent pandemic and what it created. So to address that lack of access to financial issues, we Advance want to help to ensure that there's support for entrepreneurs at the emerging, elevating, and established stages of your journey. So stay tuned as we dive into what are the steps that you need to take to be able to get ready for the grant and for the opportunity. So our agenda that we have in mind will be going to program structures, eligibility criteria, the funding utilization, and the application requirements. So all of those steps are going to be really important so that you're able to have a successful application. So without further ado, we'd love to pass it to our AD, Kezia Myers.
Thanks, Jay. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to chat with you today. We're going to keep it pretty informal, so feel free to interject, raise a hand, ask a question. This is, as Jay said, the second time we're doing the B.A.G, but the third time that we are putting a envelope of funds into the Black music business professional ecosystem. The first year was specifically for non-for-profits, and that was because the money that was coming through was supported by a municipal organization or a municipal group, and so with that, unfortunately, municipalities cannot give to for-profits in the same way, and so we did push back greatly so that we would be able to have this offering for-profits also, and they are looked at differently. But the main, and I'll talk about that in a couple seconds, but the main reason, as Jay spoke about, is that we want to ensure that Black professionals, Black entrepreneurs have the access that they need, the financial resources that they need to be able to actualize their plans, dreams, and visions. And so, as you may or may not have experienced, the granting system that we currently have has not always prioritized the Black community, has not built in equity within their systems, and in many cases has left the Black community with lack of resource. We did a study, and we've done the study it took us about 2 years to complete. The study is now complete. And one of the questions on there related to support, financial support, and specifically grants. And the stat that came back from over 1,200 Black professionals was 98% of them had never received any grant funding from in Canada. And so, oftentimes when expressing that to our industry, I share with them that that's only part of the story. That's the result of the story. And they'll say, well, maybe it's just because they don't know, because they're not informed. Maybe it's just because they choose not to submit. And although those things can be true, there are reasons one would choose not to submit. There are reasons why one doesn't know, and it is not it's not the onus of that Black professional in many cases. It is the lack of distribution and outreach from some of our granting bodies. So the second stat is, of those that did receive funding, of those that did apply for funding, that was 2%. 2% had applied for funding. And of the 2% that had applied for funding, 90% were unsuccessful. So you can read it either way. If you read it, 98% haven't applied because they didn't know, that's one story. But if you read it backwards and you look at the 2% that did apply, 90% of which have not been successful, then we read it the other way, which says, if I know that somebody I admire who has all the skill sets in the world, organization, administration, solid business plan, if I know that they've applied and they haven't received the grant, then how likely am I to apply for the grant? And so the reason why we do this is to build in equity. The reason why we do this is to make a little bit of a dent in what a level playing field can look like. And we do plan on continuing this. It is a national offering, and yeah, it's really so that we can see ourselves actualize the plans that we have. So that's the way. Go to the next slide. Any questions? Yeah, but it is open. It is pretty chill. Okay. All right, so program structure. I'll start with the adjudication period, and then Jay will go into the stream categories. I will actually also start here with our envelope too. So the envelope is about $250,000, between $200,000 and $250,000. This set and focus on for-profit businesses is a $50,000 envelope and allocation. And then the greater part of that is non-for-profit. The reason for this difference is, as a for-profit, we look at the B.A.G and getting the B.A.G as a business injection, similar to if you were on Shark's Tank or Dragon's Den. We understand that with a for-profit business, that business injection is meant to kickstart a part or amplify a part of your business that's going to bring in revenue. And so that is the reason for the for-profits having less than the non-for-profits. And I'll explain the non-for-profits. Non-for-profits, on the other side, are not, because they're not for profit, they are non-for-profit, their revenue model is going to look drastically different, which means in many cases they need operational funding to be able to substantiate and complete the goals that they have, while not actually making a dollar of profit on top of that. And so that's where we look at the non-for-profits as really supporting their bottom line so that they can operate, so that they can hire. And then for the for-profit, we see that as you going out and knowing that we're taking these monies, being able to invest them accordingly find your resources, make the profit margin that makes sense so that you can build your business. The funds are for 2025, so this is the application process. And the funds, however, will not be distributed until January, and usage is from January to December. There's a report. Okay. Yeah. So, and then 50% of the expenses of the project. So what this actually means is your total budget. Now, when we say budget, we can look at your annual budget. If you're a non-for-profit, you may be giving us your annual budget. You may also be giving us the budget for a program that's going to run for a duration of time within the year. And so that total budget, 50% of that is what we would use this grant to help support that program. On the for business side, it is very similar, except of course, if we're looking at $50,000, that's not going to be your annual budget. So you're looking at what I would say is usually a service or a business expansion tool. So I want to build a website. You can give us the application for building the website, which outlines in the budget who needs to be involved, who's getting paid, et cetera, and of that total budget of the website or the marketing strategy or the strategic plan, the 50% would be attributed to that. We'll talk a little bit about eligibility for funds. And when I say that, not this money is meant to be operational funding. And so that does have some parameters around it. An example of which is if I'm hiring a person to work on my website and they are a web developer and I'm hiring them for 6 months, that is an eligible expense. If I am asking an artist to record something to go on my website, that is not an eligible expense. So we're really looking at operational funds and the usage of those funds for, to keep the lights on, essentially. And the reason for that, if I can, is there are other resources that all of us have access to. I did talk about the granting systems before, but they are doing their best in making sure that they are also recognizing the gaps that have existed over years past. And we have some incredible provincial granting systems that would be able to support the creative side. So you'll note that funds that go towards an artist or a concert or recording live music would not be eligible for this. But the plan for the studio would be an eligible expense, or the receptionist administrator at the studio would be an eligible expense. So, and then the way that that's broken down, you have $100,000 that you've asked for. 50% of it is covered through this program, so you get $50,000. Upon approval, you will get 50% of that. So $25,000 you will get upon approval after contracts are signed. And then the remaining 50%, so that remaining 25,000 of the 50,000 is given at the end after the final report. The final report, because you have from January to December to spend the funds, final report comes in March, giving you some time to dispel some information, gather some data. We help you with that final report by sending you I'm going to say a survey, but essentially if you answer all the questions to the survey, you will in fact have a full final report. And then you can just PDF it and send it to us, make your life a little bit easier. One thing to note, and I say this because of experience that we've had over the last couple years, is if you have asked for $100,000 or you've shown us your budget is $100,000 and you are approved for $50,000, of which you will receive the $50,000 from advance, you still need to spend $100,000 because the way that we decided that you were getting $50,000 was based on 50% of $100,000. So when it comes time to report, please make sure you're keeping all of your receipts, all of your pay stubs, anybody that you have paid, because it does need to equal $100,000. We have had in past the person spend only the $50,000 that has been awarded, and then has been disappointed, thinking that they're going to get the final $25,000. You will not get your final payment of the $25,000, that last 50%, if we don't see that you have spent what you've told us you are going to spend. Because in actuality, if you only spend $50,000, then we already gave you 50% because we gave you 25,000, right? We're looking to give you 50% of the 100 into installments. But if you spend 50,000, then the 25,000 you would have gotten in your first, upon approval, will satisfy what we would consider the 50% of expenses for the project. Marika, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm wondering just in the sense of the operational cost, Kezia, is it something that, say, so I'm going on tour, and obviously I wouldn't need the funding for tour, but if I want to have someone added to my business, say a Black business professional that I want to raise up in the industry, does that qualify, or are there limitations to what that operational cost means in terms of growing my business?
I think the application in this case would explain better how you are raising up that Black business professional. So what is that professional doing for you? If that professional is coming along as an assistant tour manager, yes, that is eligible. So I would, is that a good example, or did you have a specific
yeah
you wanted
no I think for me, because I run the business, and I have so many different aspects that can help grow my business. So even if it means having an assistant on tour with me, or having someone that's managing even the merchandise that is for me, or someone that I want to raise up that I can basically be another staff member basically in my business, is it someone that I can bring on because of the grant? And even does it have to be someone that's already kind of on the team right now?
No, you can bring on, the funds can be used to hire new people. I will say in an application, the focus is showing how this business is going to grow, how it's going to support the ecosystem, how you are looking 5 years from now, and what your projections may be for your business. These are all really key components to an application. And then, but bringing on new people is really great because that shows expansion. Now maybe it's time to scale. So I want to hire a number of people throughout the summer to work for me to focus on X, Y, and Z. This is what
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, thanks.
No problem. Any other questions? I think I saw one come in through the chat. Jay, did you see that?
Yeah, there's Allison is asking, is education eligible if someone in operation needs to complete a course in order to expand the business?
Education is not eligible. We would call that a cost of doing business. So it's not eligible for expanding your business, although you are expanding your mind when it expands your business. I get that. But for this, it is not eligible. If I can, I will go through. Yes, the recording will be available. I don't know if it will be sent to you, but it will definitely be available. Jay can probably answer that question better.
Yeah, it will be available online, and once everything is cleared, everybody will have access to it.
Awesome. You already answered the question about, is this for Toronto and can Vancouver people apply? We love us some Vancouver people, so yeah. Yes, it is national. It is absolutely national. Yes. Chi.
Hi, Kezia. Just a quick question.
Mhm.
I was wondering if like expenses like tied to, let's say for instance, we have these live sessions that we record and that we also put up on YouTube. So they're pretty much curated, and we have like an art director and an actual, I guess, video director, right? So are those like things that are eligible? Like say, because we're trying to run these sessions throughout the year and have, let's say, a certain number of sessions over the course of next year. We're just wondering if like let's say the cost of a director or like, members of the actual production crew, would that be something that would be an eligible expense or not really in this case?
Yeah, so it would be. Here's what I think we want to make sure that we see is how does this support the music business ecosystem? How does this
Okay.
support the GDP? How does this support business? So if you were doing a music video, let's
Mhm.
say, and you were hiring a video director, although it may be eligible, I'm not so sure that you would be approved for the grant because it is showing a focused project that's not really looking at scaling a business, right?
Mm,
And it's not necessarily scaling. It's in that case as a music video. It's also, you know, a piece, yes, but we would have loved to see something that would maybe have a creative director hired, and that creative director that's hired for the management team would
okay.
help all of the artists on the roster rather than a music video and
Right.
artists. It's yeah, it's a little bit too pinpointed to one specific person, one specific
For
thing.
sure.
But in your case, I'm not sure how, like you talked about these videos being over the year.
Yes.
Really make sure you draw the connection to who this is serving
Right.
and why.
Okay.
And then that's where it's your jury is looking at these applications as what's going to long term be sustainable, what's going to be um, have an economic impact, what's going to serve the community, what's going to, and serving the community doesn't mean it has to be Black serving. Like, let's say you are a sync agency. You're not necessarily Black serving. You're a sync
Right.
agency that's going to serve the entire music ecosystem.
Right.
So I would say yes, to answer the question, the video director is an eligible expense. The question is, what does my proposal look like um, when
Overall,
I'm sharing my business plan or my deck?
that makes sense. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Raquel, go ahead.
Hello, hello. I think that you kind of just answered my question a little bit at the end of that explanation right there. Just, you're talking about the application overall. So that clarifies things a bit. I was just curious because I basically run a collective, like a BIPOC centered music collective where I work with two other core organizers and we do events and workshops and have like educational services and stuff for artists in our community. And we're looking to, just scale things up over the next few years. And one of the things that we want to do, and like myself in particular, because I'm kind of in the tech space a little bit, so I'm like interested in developing a music app as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like, being able to like hire a developer, for example, to like finish out the demo of the app and be able to like vertically sort of integrate that into our events. I'm curious if that would be something that would be applicable, but I think
Totally.
like you're saying, just the whole application altogether, like I can kind of go into all that and then you can
Yeah,
see.
and
Yeah.
yes. So yes, absolutely, that is applicable. The jury is looking for, like I said, what's sustainable, future ideas, what's going to push us forward. And so, when you're talking music, being able to share what that looks like in relation to the programming and the vertical that it's in, that's a really good example of something that is adding on to your business, expanding your business, but also impacting positively the economy, but also the knowledge and access for the Black community. So yeah. I will say that the successful applicants from last year all had a "this is what this looks like in 5 years" slide. And they really were looking at projections, and that was looking at that was really important for the jury. Lincoln. Hi.
Kaz, what up?
How
Jay,
you doing?
what up? I'm well, I'm well. So I have a few questions, but one of the questions was, is there a specific focus on when you receive the funds, us spending the funds with other Black professionals?
I'd love to say it. There's no specific focus. I'd love to see it, but this is not a me thing. Um,
100%.
here is, well, I mean, no. The answer is no.
Okay.
Once you have the allocated funds, they are yours to use as per what you told us you were going to use them for. But it doesn't have to be with a Black organization. For the sake of advance, with my advance hat on, I'd love to see the amplification of Black businesses utilized.
100%. 100%. And then the other question I had was, successful recipients last year, are they still
Right.
eligible to apply this year?
They are, yes.
Got
They are. We are aware of who received funding last year versus this year. They would be, it would be with a keen eye that we would be looking at those applications, because they're actually not yet done their cycle. So they go from, like I said, from January to December, and this application is due in September. So if you had a program that ran from January to March and it was incredible, well, for us, and I think all can agree, if there's something that's working really well, let's continue to support it because it's going to do well.
Yep.
It, unlike some other thoughts,
Uh,
some other thoughts on that, we're not thinking that everybody, it's not a $1 to 1,000 people.
yeah.
It's better to be $2 to 500 people so that we can see those 500 people flourish. And that was obviously a ridiculously extreme, like 500 is crazy. But if we are, so yes, they can apply. There would be almost a review of what they've done thus far with the funds that they have received. And if things have been going in a really positive trajectory and you just continue to need that boost, I don't see why they wouldn't receive the funds. On the flip side, because they are in the process of in their current cycle, if you haven't done anything and I don't have much to go on, then it's less likely that the jury would select you again. But we have had, because as I said, this is the 3rd year, we have had a non-for-profit receive funding twice.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And my last question is, the recipients from last year, is there anywhere that they're posted? Like just
They
for us?
are posted. I can share it. They are not posted.
Okay, got it. Just for me to look at.
Check in.
Yeah, just to see, I want to
All
know, how they position their business so I can effectively, do my grant. And there might
Yeah,
be
we can share it. I mean, it is, this is a grant and we want to be transparent. And so there's the reason it's been withheld is for no other reason other than the website hasn't actually the names have been put up on the website. So I will share them with you.
Yeah.
And Jay, if you want, you can put them in the chat.
Amazing.
Do you
Thank
want me
you
to do it?
Sure thing. I mean, I think it would be best to do it after. We can definitely provide you guys with that information.
Thank you, Kez. Thanks, Jay.
No problem.
So we're gonna hold on questions, but we're just gonna answer the questions that were on the chat. So one of the questions is from Mazani. So do you provide feedback to the unsuccessful applicants like other funders? And are you going to post a list of successful applicants like some other funders? So to answer question two, I think it's very similar to Lincoln. We can provide you the list of the successful applicants from last year. And for the first question, it's really upon request. So if you would like to know how you can do better for the future, we could definitely, you can inquire about that and we can provide you the feedback. Definitely. We are here to help people and push the best foot forward. So if that's a requirement that you would like, just email us at connect@advancedmusic.org and we'll be able to answer that for you. The other question from Raquel. I'm not sure if this question was already answered for you, but would venue costs for live events be an eligible cost?
An eligible or ineligible? It would be ineligible. If it's for an event, there are resources that are currently available within the granting systems that do have venue costs as it relates to a festival or a show as eligible costs. So what we're trying to do here is kind of fill that gap and look at operations. So we wouldn't really see the operations of the festival we would look at the operations as the company that puts on the festival. So the operation dollars we would love to see go towards that company. So if you have a marketing director and that marketing director is contracted for 6 months, yes, that marketing director is going to support the festival, but that marketing director is not just focused on that festival. And again, that's because there are financial resources that you can tap into that do have those as eligible expenses. Did you have a specific example that you wanted to provide? Or
I'm sure I can give one. I mean, like, for example, we have different events that we do, but in terms of the artist showcases and like galleries and stuff that we're doing, like for example, the Drake Underground is a venue that we have some partners at, and that's one that we're looking at doing an event at pretty soon, hopefully before the end of this year. So but that would be also something that, like, it would be nice to be able to do a regular event there and have that just be a place where we just consistently are having shows amongst, a few other places. But yeah, so just kind of, just want to get the best understanding of like what the funds can be attributed towards, because of course, like,
yeah, so in a case like that, I will say there is no problem in working the numbers to your favor. So if your application comes in and your application says that we are looking for funding for your salary, let's say, Raquel. Well, if right now your salary is taken care of via another revenue, another financial resource, and you know that Advance is focused on the operational funding, then moving over where your salary is coming from Advance, or part of it coming from Advance, frees up some money that from the other financial resource that you would be able to utilize for the venue costs.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. So, and the last remaining question on the chat is, will operational costs for an artist manager, such as travel expenses, qualify?
Travel expenses do not qualify. And that's most government does not allow for funds to go to travel is in granting. Now, there are travel grants, so I would say really take a look at that. If you are, who did that come from? Sorry.
That was from Kim Goodman.
Okay, just because I wanted to know who I was talking to.
Yeah,
so just what I would do is artist manager. If you are traveling, look at adding that travel to the budget when you are when you're looking for grants and support from other granting bodies. Factor does have access to travel. Provinces like BC has access to travel. SOCAN has access to travel. There are a number. Nova Scotia has access to travel. If you are looking for resources for travel, just let me know. But in this case, travel expenses are not part of the operation, we would say. That's the cost of doing business.
All right. So we're just gonna. Okay. Well, one more question, so that we can move on. We definitely appreciate how engaging this is. And all right. So this question comes from Archer Lane Media. For a production company that has recently started helping artists find sync placement with local film production, does a service like this work in qualifying?
Sure does. Absolutely. Love it. Need more of it. Thank you. uh,
Awesome. That seems like a great initiative. Definitely keep going with that. All right. So just gonna quickly dive into the stream categories. So these stream categories are the different funding streams that you can apply for. Emerging being eligible to up to 5,000, elevating being eligible to up to 25,000, and established being eligible for up to 80,000 in funding. So just gonna break down what each one pretty much means. So, being an emerging company is often referred as a startup business and is relatively new and an established enterprise that is in the early stages of its development and growth. So these companies are categorized by their initiative business ideas, products, or services, and they typically operate in dynamic and fast evolving industries. So emerging companies often face high level of uncertainties, and there's a lot of risk. So, but it also holds a significant potential for being disruptive and having a disrupting innovation and market expansion. So some of the key characteristics that describes an emerging company is you have to be in your early stage. You have a limited scale. You are innovative. You have a sense of adaptability. You focus on innovation, and you are also focused on market disruption. So it's a very crucial component of economic growth and job creation. So they can possibly contribute to the technological advancement and increase competition and the development of new markets. When it comes to the elevating companies, is often referred as a scaling or growing company, and is an enterprise that can move beyond the initial startup phase and is experiencing a significant expansion when it comes to operation, market presence, and also revenue. So these companies usually have success demonstrating the viability of the business model, and can achieve a level of stability that allow them to focus on capturing larger market share and increasing the impact. And what describes them is you just have to be an established foundation. You need to have a positive traction, a good sense of scalability, a wider market reach, a product refinement or service refinement, an increase in revenue, and you have access to capital while maintaining management and team expansion, and also focusing on market leadership and long-term strategy. So they can play a crucial role in driving the economic development, creating jobs, fostering innovation within the respective industries, and they have the ability to successfully navigate the challenges of scaling, which achieve sustainable growth for sustainable growth positions as valuable contributors to the local and global business ecosystems. And then the established company is a mature and a well-developed enterprise that has achieved a stable and a significant position within the industry or the market. So These companies have successfully navigated the challenges of early stage growth and demonstrated a consistent track of record of profit, market share, and operational stability over an extended period. And what describes them is longevity, a stable operation, market recognition, a strong brand identity, a diverse revenue stream, a sustained profit, market share, a strong leadership, innovation, and that adaptation, a corporate social responsibility, and access to resources. So those are the three funding streams that you can apply for with the B.A.G. And it's really important for you to navigate and see where really your business stands, and be honest with yourself and your partners, and see where you guys will land. So moving forward, so these are some of the eligibility criteria. The first one is, pretty much, obvious. We're here to support Black-owned businesses. So this is the goal. But, it's not to say that everybody has to be, Black, but it's important for at least half of it to be Black. So 50% of it needs to be Black-owned. And at least one of the owners.
51%.
51%, my apologies, since that's the majority. At least one of the owners need to be a permanent resident and a Canadian citizen. The applicant must be a founder or has a majority of the shareholders in the business. You must be registered and operating in Canada. And your business has to be operating for more than 2 years. And you need to be a business that has a product or some type of service in the market, and have a focus on providing products and services to professionals in the music sector. Keep in mind that emerging businesses can use part of the funding for non-for-profit businesses, business registration, and you can show that on the second installment of when you get your funds. Is there any questions?
Yeah, can you explain that last sentence a little bit more about registering as a nonprofit and how to showcase that when you said you'd receive the second half of funds? I just need you to break that down a little bit more, please.
For sure. Casey, would you like to take this?
Sure. If I understand your question correctly, it is about using the funds to get a business registration. Is that correct?
No,
So
the way that it was put was that the funds can be used to register as a nonprofit, which of course is quite expensive, but from an existing business, not from.
No, okay. So let me clarify. So I believe what Jay is trying to say is we understand that not all businesses have been registered. And we are understanding that in our community, sometimes you could have had a business for 10 years and it actually hasn't been registered with the government. So the funds that you receive will be able to go to your, they need to, if you aren't a registered business, they will need to go to show a business registration, incorporated business, sole proprietorship, or non-for-profit, whichever stream you are in, whatever side you're in, non-for-profit or for-profit. If you don't have a registered business and you do receive funds and you're successful, then part of that funding is to go to ensure that you are a registered business.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
No problem. Marika.
Yeah, Michael, you kind of sort of touched on it. So I've been in business for about 20 years, but I recently in this last year rebranded because I wanted to include my film, the film side of my business. So the actual new business has only been operating for about a year. Now, does that mean I'm like an emerging business, or does that mean, or like, I'm just trying to understand what I would qualify for, because technically and like I guess legally the registered business is young because of the new brand.
Right. Yeah, we've run into this a number of times. In this case, as long as you're showing us the business and the history of the business, you
Okay.
would be able to apply for what is most appropriate. So in this particular case, that would be established given the time that you've been in business, as long as it's the same business. If it was
Yeah.
20 years as one business, 20 years as an artist, and then you move into artist management over 3 years, then you would likely be in 3 years. But in
Yeah.
your case, it sounds like that 20 years you've been doing similar business practices, and then
Yeah.
you've rebranded, got a business registration, but it would fall into that established category, which is 5+ years.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're just expanding. So I
Yeah.
wasn't sure. Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys.
No problem.
Yes, so there is, one more, I guess that may answers T's question. What category would you fit if your business has been around for years and you're recognized, but you don't make a lot of money?
Yeah, this is not actually based on the revenue you have coming in. We do, and I will be totally honest, if you are in the final stages before being successful, we will be asking for financial statements. It is in no way, shape, or form a judgment. It is just to ensure that we understand risk. And so what can happen sometimes is I'm asking for $200,000 and I'm granted $100,000, or the organization really likes my idea and wants to grant me $100,000. As I mentioned before, that's only 50% of the money you would need to spend. So there needs to be some sort of risk assessment in determining what that number actually would be, so that you aren't stretched thin, and so that you know that you do have the liquid of the assets to be able to spend the $200,000 that you need to spend in order for advances 50% to be true. So that happens if there's typically 3 stages. In the second stage, if you've made it to the second stage, then you at that point would be asked for financial statements, but it's only to ensure that that Advance is doing the due diligence from a risk assessment standpoint.
All right, we're gonna move on to the next slide.
All right, funding utilization. Some of this we've spoken about, but I am going to go through in depth. As specified before, funds are meant for expanding operational funding. We are looking to support the foundations of your businesses so that you can further provide the resources you need to the people you're providing them to. And we are not funding at this time creative projects. And so, if you have an artist career, then I would suggest you go to some of the great music creative focused grants that we have in this country. And if you need any information about what is out there, just go to www.cemamusic.ca. I think it's CA. Is it CA or org? CEMA has a great overview of all the grants that you can access in Canada, because there's lots and sometimes we don't know what's out there. If you don't know, you don't know. So it's www.cema, C-I-M-A, music, music.ca. And you'll find in one of their drop downs grants, go into it, it lists all, and most of them are for creative. Okay, so I digress. Funding allocation. Here are in detail, and this is available to you, I believe, on the website. If not, Jay can pass this on, or we can have it uploaded there. For product development and innovation, research and development of new products or services. So that's like a landscape analysis, prototyping, testing, and refining product concepts, enhancing existing products to meet evolving market demand. So if we're adding tech to something, if we are looking at visualizations in a different way, if we're looking at websites in a different way, that's eligible. Intellectual property protection, patents, trademarks, and copyrights. Funding allocations can also go towards marketing and branding, developing and implementing marketing campaigns. So unlike like the example I gave a little bit earlier, if you have a marketing manager that's doing marketing for 6 months, and in that manager's role, they are marketing a festival, that is absolutely fine. If you are doing the festival, that in itself would not be something that I would apply for. I would apply for the business and say that you need to hire a marketing manager and all of the other roles that do support the festival, but the festival wouldn't be what I'm applying for. I'm actually applying for the business that puts on the festival. So Karis puts on the Junos. So I would be applying as Karis. Branding, logo design, and visual identity development, market research and analysis to better target customers, website and online presence optimization, operations and infrastructure, upgrading equipment and technology to improve efficiency. This one is one that is it shows as an eligible expense. It does undergo some scrutiny. It does depend who the board is not the board, sorry, who the jury is in looking at what upgrading equipment and technology to improve efficiency really means. And for you all, it's about building a business case. If you are wanting to have move into a new space, and the new space is 3 times the space that you have right now, and there is no justification as to why we would be doing that, then it's less likely to be favored by the jury. So everything you do, especially when it comes to that particular piece, the upgrading equipment and technology to improve efficiency, is the why. If it's going towards a new laptop so that you can best hold all your catalogs because you are focused on sync or music supervision, that is something that can go on. It is discretionary to the jury, though, whether that is where your funds can go. Because again, if we're giving you 50% and it doesn't quite catch the laptop, it may catch the hire, not the laptop. What professional development? Wait, we're not there yet. Go ahead, Allison. Ask your question, because maybe I said something, or you think I said something, or you're reading ahead.
I'm reading ahead. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Okay. I'll get that. I'll get there. Inventory management and supply chain optimization, streamlining and internal processes and workflows, implementation software systems for better management, human resources and talent development, hiring and training new employees or expanding the team, professional development and training programs for staff. Is that where you meant the professional development?
Yes.
Okay. So this is, there was a question earlier about taking a course. This is not so much taking a course. This is, let's say I'm starting my business from scratch. I myself have had the business, but now I'm starting to hire some new people, and I'm hiring someone. Actually, Marika kind of spoke to kind of building someone up in the industry. I'm bringing someone on who is coming from the finance world, but they just came out of post-secondary education, and they really don't have an understanding of what accounting really is. Paying someone like Oko from Music by Numbers to work alongside and train this new accountant that you have brought on is an eligible expense. So that's the professional development piece. Another professional development piece is if you are training on a new, let's say even new CRM. You're using a new CRM and you want it costs, the CRM company says, it costs $500 for us to come in and walk you through what that CRM looks like. That's an eligible cost, and that's professional development and training programs for staff. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. I will say, and I'm going to make this quite clear. I'm not on the jury, so I get to share these secrets or trade secrets or insight with you. Advance is available to you up until deadline, and I actually quite like sharing information like this. So I'm not on the jury. What that means is I'm giving you information that I've seen from the jury and the jury selections. What that also means is I have seen the jury really focus on the why. If you can make a great case for the why in any aspect of your ask, keep asking yourself that, the why, and how does this support the ecosystem? How does this support, if you're non-for-profit, Black music business professionals or Black professionals or the BIPOC community? If you're a for-profit, how does this support the industry at large? If you're a sync agency or a new sync agency, why does this make sense? And am I the only one doing it, or are there many? An example that I've given to people quite a lot of times is Advance doesn't have a formalized mentorship program. There is tons of mentorship that happens at Advance, but it's not formalized. And a reason for that is there are a number of other mentorship programs. So who am I to, or why would I, especially if I know that there are Black focused mentorship programs, would we create a mentorship program? If I was submitting to the jury and said, I'd like to create a mentorship program, they may say, well, I can name 6 off the top of my head. So do we need that? Is that saturation in the market? Or is there a new aspect to this type of mentorship program that somehow blows the others out of the water? So that's just some context.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. I think I mean, I know you're not on the jury and I'm taking up so much space. I'm so sorry. But I like my organization helps facilitate queer Black artists into predominantly straight Black music spaces. And so we do a lot of inclusion and anti-oppression training. And now within the last few years, there are certifications for people to do inclusion work that didn't exist prior. And so I was thinking it would be an eligible course because it's not like a class you go to, but it's a certification that you have to pay for in order to be able to compete in this realm. So like you said with the jury, like if you're able to support it, I'm sure it would. But to me, it seemed like a professional development course.
Yeah, and if you can support it, because what you said I think was key. You said it allows us to compete, which means I'm giving, and I have now an advantage that I don't have if I don't have this. Those are key words to be using in an application. And justification as to why I want the people within my space to have said certification, because this gives credibility, which means we can go even further and reach even more.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Raquel, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just curious on this topic a little bit about the training aspect. So one of the events that we are doing is workshops in financial literacy, which is also led by a Black facilitator, and also including like alternative distribution methods through emerging tech. So like this is, something that we would like to do on a regular basis as well, being you know, just an open sort of workshop for anybody in the collective to be able to attend. So yeah, I'm just curious what you would think about that.
I mean, so what I think firstly is the operation piece. Is there it this is a program that runs annually? Like you want to develop this program?
Yeah, well, it's something we just had an idea for earlier this year, like to start hosting, because we have a friend who is a financial literacy like speaker, and she has her own business doing this. So we thought it would be nice to be able to just incorporate that since we have access to her being able to do that. But like, you know, obviously, like I already asked about the venue cost thing, and then but if we were able to like pay her to actually do this workshop on a regular basis, like that would be considered an operational cost, right? Like
Yeah.
her just coming to
Yeah,
put the
exactly.
workshop
Yeah,
on.
so that's what I was getting at. So in that case, that operational cost can be part almost of your staff. And you know, maybe that person comes like 5 times, 6 times, 12 times a year, but that could be a staff cost because you almost want to envision that as being someone who you do have on your team full time to support the artists that you are. So that's how I would position that.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
position it more that way than I would, here's a program that we would like to do. Because if your application is about the program, then it may the focus on the business itself may not come through. If you focus on the business and say, we want to have these staff members so that they can support, and then you have the person's name, let's say, and the program that they're supporting. Now we have program directors or instructors that are part of the school, which expands the business and the operations of the space.
Okay, heard. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. Marika.
Hey, yeah, I was just wondering, let me lower my hand. Do you think it's important, just coming back to what you were saying before about programs that are already existing? I know obviously the Toronto versus Vancouver landscape is so different, Kez, and you know that too.
Right.
Is it something that I should be emphasizing in my application when it comes to potentially creating programs or operational things? Because what I love about this actually grant learning now is very industry based and industry focused. Is it something that I should emphasize geographical differences, or is
Yes.
it going to be a wide spectrum? Okay.
Yeah, no, always in your best interest to give some context.
Okay. Yeah.
And that context will come in. I use that context all the time. I was recently on
Okay.
a jury and I was expressing the differences between in that particular jury, Nova Scotia, and what that means. And because we were looking at numbers, somebody's numbers.
Okay.
And I was looking at Nova Scotia and they were comparing it to Quebec and Toronto. And I was like, that math doesn't math in that case. So
Totally.
let
Yeah.
me help you out. So yeah, so yeah, always provide context. You never know who are the louder voices on the jury.
Yeah.
Now, the way that the jury operates is the jury usually consists of about 11 people from all across Canada. And they're broken up into groups, group 1, 2, 3, 4, and they all review an X number of applications divided equally. And then they come back to a meeting all together where they highlight, where we actually are able to pull the top scored. And then there's a discussion that happens. And so once the discussion happens, now everybody's taking a look at your application, but the people in group 1 may have randomly just been from Toronto and Montreal with no
Right.
context. So not everybody is looking at all of them.
Okay.
They're looking at subsects until you get to stage number 2. So it's really important to put that context because you just don't know who's seeing your application.
Who's reading it? Okay.
Right.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions, Jay?
Nope, not on this side. All clear.
All right, cool. Perfect. Okay, so fund allocation, market expansion, launching new sales channels and distribution networks, entering new geographic markets or demographics. that does not mean we are paying for travel. I just want to reiterate that so that we're not confused. Expanding partnerships or collaborations with other businesses. Sustainability and environmental initiatives, implementing environmentally friendly practices and technologies, updating, developing sustainable packaging or production methods. Financial stability and management, hiring financial consultants or advisors for better fiscal management. Not Raquel, Allison, I think that was. Allison. No, it was Raquel. Raquel, the financial literacy piece.
Oh, yes.
There you go. Legal and compliance, contracting legal services, legal fees associated with contracts, agreements, or regulatory compliance. Yes, these can be on your, but they should be on your budget. First of all, every single thing that you're going to do in this expansion, new programming, whatever it is for your business should be on your budget. The nice thing is that if you have $100,000 worth of things on your budget and we are supporting you with 50% of that 50,000, we actually go through and say, this is where our funds are. This is where we expect our funds to be allocated. So let's say you hire 2 people at $25,000 each, and you have a total budget of 100,000, which includes all of the other things that you see on this funding allocation list. We as Advance have the right to say, we want to see the $50,000 that we are supporting you with go to hiring these 2 people. Because the expectation is you would have done it all anyways. Cool. And I say that because sometimes things get sticky. Because legal fees, like we're not paying for a criminal lawyer, stuff like that. Okay, e-commerce and digital transformation, developing or enhancing e-commerce platforms, implementing digital marketing strategies and online advertising campaigns, innovation and technological advancements, investing in cutting edge technologies, again, lots of tech, employee training and development, providing specialized training programs for employees to enhance skills or expertise. So this was Allison. There's your answer to that. Funding, certification courses, and professional development opportunities for staff. Sales and business development, creating presentations, decks for client meetings, negotiations, and or to build relationships with potential clients or investors. Technology and innovation research, attending technology-focused conferences. In this particular case, we would be interested in seeing the cost of the fee, the registration fee. But ineligible expenses, not hotel, not travel, not Ubers, not per diems. Okay. Leadership, management, and training, attending workshops and seminars, operational efficiency, all of these with a Y. Operational best practices, which would include participating in site visits to businesses known for operational excellence to learn and adopt best practices, attending workshops focused on lean management, Six Sigma, and other processes, customer engagement, attending customer service training to enhance customer satisfaction and retention strategies. These are all things that, if you know, are better for your business. So that those do qualify. Diversity and inclusion training, also similar to what Allison was talking about, and language and communication skills. Language and communication skills in the event that you are a national organization, a national company, and you want to put someone again on your staff that is we'll call them part-time or contract, that is a translator, that's a staff member. I need to be able to translate into these languages. That person is on my team so that I can better serve when I'm representing people in Montreal. Furthermore, if they were to go to Belgium, France, Burkina Faso, you name it, Niger, Cameroon. I gotta shout out Cameroon. So yeah, those are the funding allocations. Pretty long list. But I emphasize more and more just the why behind what you're doing and how to draw that line of connectivity to the business's development in the landscape environment that you're in, and understanding that, because also as wide as the jury's knowledge is, you may be presenting something that is new and that you're informing them on, and that could be a great benefit for Canada overall. But if they don't have that base knowledge and they don't understand, then it may not come through in the deck, and unfortunately there's no question answer period, so you're not actually having the opportunity to defend your proposal. Next, budget sheet guidance. Okay, so this is pretty self-explanatory, and I would encourage you to take a look at the budget guidance and those eligible, everything that we kind of went through here. Ineligible expenses are at the bottom of that, and that can be found on the website, right, Jay?
That's right. Correct.
Okay, cool. Budgets. Any questions on budgets? No? Okay. Oh, I will say something about budgets. Be as realistic as you can, because the jury has been and currently works within various areas of the music industry. If you say that a photographer for your marketing strategy, so you're doing a rebrand, if we say that the photographer coming in taking pictures of the team costs $5,000, there are going to be some eyebrows raised. So I just say that to be, in all honesty, to make sure that we're as accurate as we can be. And if it is $5,000, why? But we work in a space, we work with a number of vendors regularly. So things that jump out will be questioned. And again, because you don't get to defend this, it just may end up resulting in not being successful in the grant. All right, you can go to the next.
That's good.
All right, application requirements. Okay. So as I said before, the ones that were successful last year, all of them showed us a slide as a part of their deck as to where we'll be in 3 years, 5 years, or a 10-year plan that said this year with your funds, we can do this, which allows us to do this, which allows us to do this, which allows us to do this. So that I think is key. Information about your organization. This is where the context comes in. Where are you from? What does that landscape look like? What are you as a business trying to do? What is the gap where you are? And if you're filling that gap, share a little bit about that gap. Detailed budget, we just kind of went over that. And here are some questions to ask yourself. How does or will your business aid in the success of Black music business professionals? Does that mean business B2B? Are you supporting in that particular way? Are you providing self-managed creatives financial literacy? That these are thoughts that one would have. Lincoln asked earlier about using the funds with other Black businesses. No, it's not mandatory, but if your business will aid in the success of other Black businesses by working with them, that's something that we do look at. Has your business aided in the success of Black music business professionals in the past? If so, how was it done? What's your company's annual goals? I would move that so that it's annual goals and again, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year goals, just to show what that projection is, and realistic. It doesn't have to be a really quick elevation. It can be a slow burn, because that is going to again, really focus on the sustainability that one wants to see. We want to get to a point where that there are, so if this is year 3 and every year, let's say we have about 10 recipients, we want to see in 10 years from now or 5 years from now, 30 different companies that have effectively changed, supported, expanded, amplified the voices and are doing exceptionally well. So think about it that way. Your goal is to be here for the next, you're planning on being here for a while. Show us what that plan is. Those annual goals, I would go beyond that because the jury really skewed that way last season. Why do you believe Black music business professionals are important to the national music industry ecosystem? How long have you been in operation? These are things that we need to see. How much financial support are you requesting? Obviously, we want to know that. But interestingly enough, Jay, can you go to the slide before this, the budget?
Yep. 1 second.
That's okay. At the bottom of that, and it doesn't show that it's here. At the bottom of that, it says requesting. So total would be 100,000, and below it should say requesting, which would be 50,000. If you understand that 50% is going to be what's allocated to you. There were, and even if you listen, you can be ambitious and you can put 80,000. That's fine. Just make sure you fill out how much is requested. There were a number of applications that came in last year that just showed me it had $200,000 budget, but didn't actually ask for any money, and they didn't get any money. That wasn't the reason why, but it would help if we knew what you were requesting for. Because if your budget also includes, let's say, a festival, well, you're not requesting for that. So maybe you are just requesting $25,000 for a new staff member. Okay. You can go back, Jay.
Yeah, and to add on to that, the budget Excel sheet is very interactive. So like whenever you guys are inserting the numbers and whatnot, it kind of has a calculator on it, so it should be very easy to implement those.
You got it. All right. And along with how much financial support you are requesting, we also would really like to know where else you're getting money. The funds don't have to come, the other 50% doesn't have to come from your pocket. But we are interested in knowing if funds are coming from other granting bodies, and that's a good thing. It's a great thing if you're able to fundraise and diversify where your funds are coming from. But being transparent about where your funds are coming from also helps with the jury's understanding about how likely this is to happen. If you're asking for $500,000 and you know that our envelope is $250,000, you know you're not getting $250,000 of a $500,000 budget. So if in fact you were to receive $70,000 from advance, because it's up to 50%, $70,000 from advance on a $500,000 budget, well, advance is going to want to see how you're going to find the other $500,000 that, or the other $430,000. So be transparent about where your money is coming from up front, so nobody has to ask and nobody makes assumptions. And then, who are your founders? We want to know who your founders are and a little bit of story. While here, we can receive letters of references. They're not required unless you are applying for established company program, but letters of reference, support letters, are never a bad thing. So if you want to start asking some people that you know that you've worked with to write some letters of support for you, that also helps in that information about your organization and context, and it just gives us some information about how we've worked before. Jay, what's the next slide? Okay, so before we go to there, go back to, sorry, before we go there, I'm just going to share with you all how the B.A.G is adjudicated. And this is the rubric. So adjudicated on viability. Business model viability. How well defined and feasible is the business model presented by the applicant? We want to know what that business model is. Financial viability, the financial projections and budget realistic. Is the budget realistic and reasonable for achieving the proposed activities and goals? And of what I talked about, realistic budget. Sustainability. Does the applicant demonstrate a clear plan for sustainability and growth of the business beyond the grant period? That's why I said put your annual, but like 3, 5, 10 years down the road. Or even year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Operational viability. Are the operational plans and strategies outlined capable of effectively executing the proposed activities? Do you have the right team in place? And it doesn't have to be in place right now, but is your presentation, your deck, your information sharing that you have thought about the team you need to execute? What experience is there? Do you have the right tools? Do you have the right resources? Has that been thought out in depth? So that is the viability section, which is marked out of 4. 4 being distinguished, 3 being proficient, 2 being apprentice, and 1 being novice. Or novice. Impact. This is your second pillar. Impact, community impact. What potential impact does the business have on the local community and broader societal level, particularly in underrepresented communities? Economic impact. How likely is their business to contribute to job creation, economic growth, or other positive economic outcomes within the applicant's region? Cultural and societal impact. How does the business aim to contribute to the cultural diversity, inclusivity, or social advancement, especially for marginalized or underrepresented groups? Long-term impact. How does the applicant articulate the long-term impact and legacy of the proposed activities on the target audience and relevant stakeholders? You will notice that all of these are thinking about more than 2 years. How do we get, one of the things that I personally have seen over the many years that I've been in this space is the reliance on the grant system. And we want to be a support. We want to make sure that you have the foundation and the tools that you need, but we also want to ensure, and you'll see this with upcoming elections for many of you, that there may be a change of a guard may come with change of where grant funding is. So what does sustainability look like for you? Have you thought that through? Because the reliance on the grant system ends up building a dependent ecosystem and doesn't allow us to flourish the way we should and impact globally the way we can. And then the last tier is relevance. Alignment with program goals. Sorry. To what extent does the proposed business align with the goals and objectives of the grant program? Relevance to target audience. How relevant and beneficial are the proposed activities to the intended target market or target audience or market? Innovation and uniqueness. Does the business present innovative or unique solutions, products, and services that differentiate it from existing offerings in the marketplace? That's my mentorship example. Adaptability and flexibility. How adaptable and flexible is the business in responding to changing market conditions, trends, and emerging needs of the target audience? So those are the 3. I have no problem putting this up. So Jay, maybe we can ask Diane to share this if that seems about right. Just to show the different pillars: viability, impact, and relevance. Any questions on that? All right. Okay, so now you can go to the next slide. Any questions overall? Okay, I love that. Okay, there are FAQs that are available for you. There are fund allocation documents that are available for you. There are grant details and requirements that are available for you. We will put up the names of those who have received funding. We will look into putting up the rubric. I don't see why not. Marika, go ahead.
Yeah, is this an all or nothing kind of application, or do you approve partial funding if you're like, I love this part of your plan, but I don't like this part. I don't think it's legit.
We do. Yeah.
Okay.
Partial funding is, yeah, we've definitely done that.
Okay. Thanks.
No problem. Any other questions? All right. Does that mean I did a good job explaining? Wow. Look at that.
You did a great job, Kezia.
It's because I started teaching on Tuesday. So now
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
like,
you did.
I did. I'm like,
Okay,
oh
Prof.
man, this is like a lecture. Let me get
Prof.
some
Kezia.
classes. Professor Kezia. I know. Crazy. I
You just-
never think.
You just got to practice on us. You're welcome. I'm glad I could.
Thank you.
help.
I appreciate it. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, and if you'd like to stick around and ask a question that you didn't want to ask in front of the group, feel free to do so. Where will the rubric be posted? I presume it would be on the website. I'm going to let Jay is doing this. So we're just
Yeah, we're going to make sure all of these things are all in one place. So the bag, it will be on our website in the section of the bag. So like that, everything is all in one place.
and that will include this video. So this is being recorded for your review. And so you can send to your friends and other people that you know. There was a lot of competition. Last year we had 89 businesses apply. That is more businesses than some of the grant programs that run nationally from some of our other funders. And interesting, I had asked one, hey, can you send me like your list of Black businesses? And they sent me like 20 names, and I sent them 89 applications that came last year. And they're like, oh, they're there. And I'm like, yeah, they're there.
Yeah, I resonate with you with, because I mean, for so many years early on in my career, I applied for grants, and I'm like, why are people who are way less talented and way less everything getting the money over me? So then you just stop. So
Yeah.
I totally, that when you said that at the beginning, I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
You just don't. So
yeah. And we do yeah, we want, and for those of you who are not in the Ontario province, right now Ontario is funding this, and funding it not only on, sorry, not Ontario, Toronto is funding this for the entire country, which is basically unheard of. Municipalities do not let funds go beyond their parameters, which is literally their kilometer square footage. Because they really love this program, they are funding this, and we also pressured that it needs to be open to everyone. But if you are in another province and you would like to see this continue, we really want to ensure that you are speaking to your municipalities or your provinces so that we truly can make this national. The best thing to hear is that BC supports their infrastructure by contributing to the B.A.G, right? Because then you know that your people are actually taking care of you. And I think that that's really important. So just on an aside, we've had conversations with Nova Scotia. They really love this program. So it's about people taking ownership and really understanding what equity looks like and how to support the Black businesses within their ecosystem. anyways, that's my ramble. I'm
So
Yeah.
good. So good. Thank you
Totally.
guys. This is amazing. This has been
Yeah, this is
amazing.
very insightful.
So thank you.
guys.
Anytime. Thanks for
Yeah.
coming.
No problem. Any last remarks? Last questions?
No, but we'll stay on. Micah, if you want to stay on, you can stay on, and then you don't have to voice note me.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, we appreciate everyone to be able to attend. I could definitely say that, yeah, it was amazing to be able to provide you with some knowledge and guidance. And we wish you the best of luck in your application. We'll see you
And
on
keep
the other
asking
side.
us questions. Like, honestly, if there's something you think about 24 hours before it's due, 10 hours before it's due, just shoot us a note. We will, we'll be able to answer it for you.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.